This is Steve Cohen. He owns the New York Mets and he's rich. Like, really rich. In 2024, Forbes put his net worth at over $21 billion. That makes him the 8th richest owner in all of American sports. But unlike the 7 owners above him, Cohen doesn't have to deal with a salary cap, and that makes him a force to be reckoned with. The richest owner in baseball by a long shot, Steve Cohen is worth $14 billion more than the next wealthiest owner and has more money than all of these owners combined. And when he bought the Mets in 2020 for $2.4 billion, it was the most expensive sale in MLB history. And he didn't buy them to flip them or for prestige. He bought them because he was tired of watching his childhood team lose, and he thought his money could finally fix that. Mets fans didn't see a billionaire, they saw a superhero. The Wilpon era was finally over. No more excuses, no more pinching pennies, no more next year. Other owners ran teams like businesses. Cohen planned to run his Mets like a passion project, a very expensive one. In his very first press conference as owner, he put things very plainly. If I don't win a World Series in the next 3 to 5 years, I would consider that disappointing. Steve was not messing around. Now fast forward almost 6 years and he spent more than anyone in baseball, and the results are not what you might think. So who is Steve Cohen? How is he so rich? How did he casually redefine baseball payrolls? How has the Mets experiment actually gone? And why is he now seemingly burning it all to the ground? Cohen grew up in Great Neck, New York, the third of 8 kids in a normal working class family. His dad worked in Manhattan's garment district, his mom taught piano, and his story definitely isn't a silver spoon one. As a teenager, Cohen got obsessed with poker. Not for the money, but for the math. The reads, the risk. He learned early how to lose without panicking, and win without getting sloppy. That mindset followed him to Wharton, where he studied economics. And while most college kids were figuring out cafeteria food, Cohen was opening a brokerage account with tuition money and trading stocks. When he hit Wall Street in 1978, it didn't take long for people to notice. On his first day as a junior trader, he made $8,000 in one day. Eventually, he was making his firm about $100,000 a day, and by his mid-30s, he was running a massive trading desk and decided he didn't need a boss anymore. In 1992, he started SAC Capital with $20 million, half his, half outside money, and very quickly, SAC became a monster. Fast trades, huge volume, enormous profits. At its peak, it managed tens of billions and made Cohen a legend on Wall Street. He was called the hedge fund king, and in some years, he made over $1 billion personally. But all that success came with shadows. Over time, SAC became synonymous with insider trading investigations. Employees were charged, convictions followed, and in 2013, SAC pled guilty to insider trading and paid $1.8 billion in fines, one of the largest penalties in financial history. Cohen himself avoided criminal charges, but the damage was real. He was banned from managing outside money for 2 years, and SAC shut down to outside investors, with its reputation taking a hit. So what does a billionaire do when Wall Street turns cold? He buys his favorite baseball team. Cohen had already dipped his toe in back in 2012, buying an 8% stake in the Mets. He was in the building, but not in charge. The Wilpons still ran the show, and the Mets fans still suffered. By 2020, with the Wilpons weakened financially and emotionally, Cohen made his move. When MLB approved the sale, Mets fans celebrated like they had already won something. This was supposed to be the fix. Cohen wasn't here to save money, he was here to win. Steve Cohen officially became the majority owner in November of 2020, and he cleaned house fast. He fired GM Brodie Van Wagen, bringing in Sandy Alderson to replace him, and started building up his reputation as the owner who cared deeply and personally. He interacted with fans directly on Twitter, and he got to work upgrading Citi Field to improve the fan experience. These things alone felt new, like the team was finally in good hands. Then came the roster moves. Cohen's team made their first big move player-wise in January of the next year in a trade with the Indians, bringing in veteran pitcher Carlos Carrasco and all-star and future captain of the franchise, shortstop Francisco Lindor, who was also given a massive 10-year, $341 million extension a few months later in April. 2021 was the first full season with Steve Cohen at the controls, and the expectation of Mets fans had never been higher. Unfortunately, the team would finish 77-85, third in the NL East and missing the playoffs by a wide margin. The frustrating part was how the season unfolded. The team spent over 100 days in first place, more than any team in baseball that year, and still finished under 500. Injuries piled up, Jacob deGrom was brilliant but unavailable late, and the offense stalled, despite the team acquiring Javier Baez as a midseason rental. Payroll-wise, the Mets ranked 8th in MLB on opening day, at $167 million. Not yet the juggernaut it would become, but definitely a step up from any of the rosters the Wilpons fielded. This was, after all, still a transition roster. This season exposed a truth that has become more and more evident over the years. Money helps, but structure matters more. 2022 was the season everything started to feel real. Cohen's front office went all in. Before the season, the team signed Mark Canha, Starling Marte, and Max Scherzer, as well as trading for Chris Bassett. This was the year payroll jumped massively. The Mets opened the season with the second highest payroll in MLB, at $253 million, behind only the Dodgers. It was the first time the league truly felt Cohen's presence. When the season was all said and done, the team had won 101 games, holding the second best record in baseball, behind only the historically good Braves, who unfortunately happened to be in their division. Nevertheless, Citi Field was electric, and Buck Showalter won Manager of the Year. Then came October. After losing the division on the final weekend in heartbreaking fashion, the team immediately lost the wildcard series, 2-1. Another short postseason and an abrupt ending to the Mets' best regular season in years. It was a great season, but to Mets fans and Cohen, it just didn't feel like one. 2023 was the year the Steve Cohen era officially broke baseball economics. The prior season, the new MLB collective bargaining agreement included a clause that would add a further tax specifically to penalize teams with excessively high payrolls. Nicknamed the Cohen tax, it was officially in effect for the 2023 season. Despite this, the Mets opened 2023 with the highest payroll in MLB, coming in just north of $330 million. Justin Verlander in for 2 years, $87.6 million. Kodai Senga for 5 years, $75 million. And J.D. Martinez a year for $12 million, among other smaller moves. Additionally, Cohen installed the crown jewel of his quest to upgrade Citi Field, with the largest jumbotron in baseball, spanning 17,400 square feet to enhance the fan experience. Steve Cohen didn't care about money. He finally felt the thrill of victory last season, and to him, spending an extra $100 million was a small price to pay to get his team over that final hump. At least, so he thought. In reality, it failed spectacularly. The team finished 75-87, 4th in the NL East. A brutal June sank them, aging stars didn't perform, the pitching fell apart, and by the trade deadline, he had to do the unthinkable. He sold. Max Scherzer gone, Justin Verlander gone, and the Mets ate massive money just to reset the system. It was shocking, but it was logical. A lot of Mets fans saw it as waving the white flag. Cohen, however, said it wasn't. He framed it as a business decision, one that showed he was willing to move on from sunk costs rather than stay locked into a failing plan. And it worked. Kind of. 2024 was a bounce-back mirage. Quietly, this was the Mets' best postseason run under Cohen. The Mets opened first in MLB payroll again, over $301 million. Francisco Lindor was the team's best player, and the roster felt more balanced with team players instead of aging superstars. It seemed overall less desperate. They finished 89-73, 3rd in the NL East, and made a surprising run to the postseason, winning some electric games before ultimately falling in the National League Championship Series to the Dodgers, losing in 6 games. This was the first time Cohen's Mets felt normal. Competitive without panic, aggressive without chaos. The Mets were on the cusp of a ring. All they needed was that one final piece to push them over the edge. And that piece would come in December. Really quick, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my video. If you're enjoying it so far, consider giving me a sub, it helps me out a ton. Also, I just started a brand new shorts channel, so if you want to see more of me for whatever reason, check it out in the link in the description. Anyway, that's enough of this, let's get back to the video. On December 8th, it was announced that Steve Cohen signed superstar outfielder Juan Soto to a 15-year, $765 million contract, the largest guaranteed deal in sports history. No deferrals and a $75 million signing bonus, stealing him from the rival Yankees. This wasn't just a baseball move, it was a statement. Cohen wasn't backing off. He was doubling down on star power, prime talent, and long-term dominance, even if it was crazy and what many thought was a nonsensical move. For context, Shohei Ohtani's deal was technically $700 million, but almost all of it was pushed way into the future. Plus, he pitches and hits. Soto's deal, on the other hand, was real money, right now. And while he is undoubtedly a good hitter, his defense is questionable. To many baseball analysts, it was a gross overpay. But to Steve Cohen, it wasn't just a free agent, it was a franchise-defining decision. The Yankees offered 16 years and $760 million. That would have shattered records on its own, but Cohen topped it anyway. And when Soto chose the Mets, it felt like a power shift in New York baseball. The Mets didn't just steal a superstar, they stole one from the Yankees. At 26 years old, Soto became the face of the franchise instantly. On paper, the Mets now had their generational anchor. In 2025, payroll remained massive, second in MLB at $315 million, only behind the Dodgers. This was finally their year. They would build on the prior year's success, and Soto would bring them to the promised land. Spoiler alert, that did not happen. The Mets had an extremely underwhelming season, finishing with a record of 83 and 79, second in the NL East, and not good enough for the playoffs. Juan Soto delivered, but the rest of the roster did not. The rotation was riddled with injuries, and the bullpen let fans down time and time again. Additionally, after the season, rumors started surfacing about problems in the clubhouse. Former Met Paul Blackburn gave a statement to the New York Post. "It was definitely a different clubhouse than I've ever been a part of. I'll say that," Blackburn said. "I don't think there were bad guys in there, I just don't think people meshed well together." Furthermore, the Post alleged that the relationship between Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto was chilly. It also detailed issues between Lindor and Jeff McNeil. If that wasn't enough, radio host Mike Francesa claimed on his podcast that differing political views created friction between Lindor and outfielder Brandon Nimmo. That brings us to now, the 2025-26 offseason, and the team seems to be pivoting once again. After years of spending without results, Cohen allowed a full teardown of the supporting cast. Pete Alonso left, Edwin Diaz left, Brandon Nimmo was traded, Jeff McNeil was moved. Unlike the first gutting though, this one didn't feel as calculated. This time, Cohen wasn't letting go of players who didn't play well. Rather, he was letting go of fan-favorite stars. To many Mets fans, it felt like a betrayal, like Cohen was abandoning the team. Adding to this feeling was the fact that at the same time the Mets were resetting, Cohen was pushing forward with an $8 billion casino and entertainment district right next to Citi Field. This wasn't just a side project, it was massive. Hotels, music venues, parks, a casino, a full transformation of the area around the stadium. A project that would be worth almost 4x what he spent on the Mets. Approved, funded, and moving forward. So people are asking the obvious thing. Is Steve Cohen losing interest in the Mets? His answer, a vehement no. Cohen has always said he doesn't need the Mets to make money, but the truth, in my opinion at least, is that building an entire entertainment district around the ballpark changes the math. It turns the Mets into something more than just a team, rather the anchor for something much bigger. No matter what he might say, the reality is that stability matters, and having the highest payroll every year and operating at a loss isn't ideal for any business, especially when the team isn't playing up to potential. It just can't feel good, even if your net worth is more than the GDP of some small countries. But if you're printing money outside the stadium, it changes the story. Additionally, with all the rumors of clubhouse infighting, it could be beneficial to team chemistry to let go of one side of the clubhouse and rebuild the chemistry from the ground up. It might seem like a radical solution, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it worked. None of this means Cohen won't spend again. He will. He's proven that. But the wild blank check era might be cooling off a little bit, at least for the time being. Not because he can't afford it, but because he's planning for the future. And because he's learned the hard way that money alone doesn't buy championships, which is at least the conclusion I've drawn from this. Because talent was never the issue, and neither was money. Winning was. The Soto deal became the ultimate symbol of the Steve Cohen paradox. Proof that he'll spend literally anything. And also proof that even the biggest contract in sports history doesn't guarantee the one thing he actually wants. A championship. Baseball isn't poker. You can't brute force the odds forever. Chemistry matters, development matters, and timing matters. Cohen learned risk young, but he also learned that sometimes even the right bet loses. The future of the Mets now feels like a pivot point. A smarter front office, a little more patience, a little less chaos. The resources are still there, and the owner is still richer than almost everyone else combined. But this being said, the clock is ticking, and Steve Cohen bought the Mets to win. Not to be competitive, not to sell hope, but to win it all. And until that parade happens, every dollar spent just makes the question louder. How can the richest owner in baseball buy everything except the ring? Well, I say just give him time, because if Steve Cohen is anything, he's a winner. And I wouldn't pick now to start betting against him.